do the work for us behind the scenes every day. It truly takes a village.
All right, Matt, we'll get started. We'll go to Ethan Lou.
Amber, with the status of labor talks with so many free agents, with an expansion draft, do you have any idea what this offseason might even look like? And if you don't, how do you kind of...
Amber stated this: I think we control the controllables. Fever general manager Amber said, you are start prepping for, obviously, the college season, for what's going on internationally, planning out our scouting. Now, it sounds like they are introducing a scouting department for overseas players. Now, from my understanding, they did not have an overseas scouting department. Now, both domestically and internationally, we are talking to all players, doing exit interviews, obviously focus on developmental plans to finding out what their needs are and how we can support them. So really, just focus on what we can control, and as things roll out, we'll be ready to go. The biggest thing planned is...
We're talking a total roster overhaul that could elevate this team from playoff hopefuls to championship powerhouses. Amber Cox, the Fever's general manager, just unveiled their grand strategy for the 2026 season, and frankly, some of this information is blowing my mind. We're talking global scouting, superstar signings, and a plan that could either make or break the Caitlin Clark era. But before we get into the specifics, you have to grasp something. Time is running out. Halloween is the deadline for the CBA agreement, meaning we're just 2 weeks from everything potentially changing. And here's the catch. The Fever have only 3 players under contract today. 3. Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Damaris Dantas. That's the list. Everyone else's fate is uncertain.
The biggest storyline going into this offseason is going to be Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever 2026 team. How is they going to build this team to be a super team? I told y'all, I'm sick of playing. We need to damn near solidify us a championship. We need to be up there with the likes of the Las Vegas Aces, the New York Liberty. We need superstars on this team. I'm tired of mediocre role players. We need to build around our 4 core pieces we are.
That is Amber Cox's mantra for now. And frankly, it's likely the wisest move amid the utter chaos enveloping the WNBA at the moment. But let's unpack her actual reveal, because this is where it gets truly fascinating. For the very first time, the Fever are establishing a comprehensive international scouting department. Now, if you're wondering, wait, they didn't have one before? You are not the only one. I had the exact same thought. This is a franchise that has struggled to build around generational talent, and they didn't have scouts evaluating overseas players. That's like trying to win a championship with one hand tied behind your back. But this is where the strategy gets interesting. The Fever aren't targeting just any international players. They're zeroing in on Olympians, championship-tested veterans, and players with their own built-in fan bases. We're talking players with baggage, and I mean that in the best sense possible. Players who arrive with Louis Vuitton luggage packed with experience, accolades, and a winning mindset.
We need superstar players. This is the make or break year for the WNBA as a whole, but especially the make or break year for Caitlin Clark fandom. See, Caitlin Clark fandom was at an all-time high at 23 and 24. Certain things happens in the league that kind of derailed the Caitlin Clark hype. Well, basically derailed the Caitlin Clark effect. Hence, the WNBA pretty much letting players that saw her in year 1, that derailed it. In year 2, Stephanie White kind of taking her off the ball kind of derailed it. But more importantly, the damn WNBA referees hella derailed it. So right now, Caitlin Clark fandom is not what it used to be. Look at the jersey sales, ticket sales, and stuff like that.
That's right now, Kate. And you know what? That exact energy is precisely what Fever fans are feeling at this moment. We are done with mediocrity. We are done with good enough. The Caitlin Clark era requires more than simply reaching the playoff. But here is the hard truth that nobody wants to address. The Caitlin Clark effect is losing some steam. I know that's a controversial thing to say, but check the data. Jersey sales have dipped. Ticket sales aren't what they were in 2023 and 2024. The buzz from her rookie year has been muted by questionable coaching decisions, officiating controversies, and a supporting cast that, let's be honest, wasn't championship level. Year 1 We saw Caitlin get physically battered on the court with little protection from the ref. Year 2, Stephanie White pulled the ball from her hands for long stretches, which baffled everyone. Now we are entering what could be a pivotal year for the entire Caitlin Clark phenomenon, and the Fever front office is well aware of it. They are absolutely aware.
Last year, I'm pretty sure they're going to core her again. Say core years, which are supermax salaries in exchange for exclusive negotiation rights, could go away entirely, prioritizing which gives the WNBA priority over the league stat side and overseas alike could become stricter or more lenient. The college draft rules could also be simplified, possibly allowing USA players to enter the WNBA without needing 4 years of college. So they could essentially try out for the team. I never knew that. See, y'all, I'm new to this, so I didn't know that you need 4 years of college.
That is the harsh reality. The Fever must act, and they must act quickly and decisively. But we have to address the elephant in the room. The expansion draft. Not just one, but 2 new franchises are entering the WNBA in 2026, the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo. Recall what took place with the Golden State Valkyries expansion draft. The Fever lost Temi Fag-Benley, who then proceeded to excel in Golden State. That single decision still haunts this franchise. They failed to protect the correct players, and they paid the price for it. Now they must navigate 2 separate expansion drafts, while trying to build a super team at the same time. The complexity of this is off the charts. They are only allowed to protect a set number of players, meaning some valuable assets could be poached. This is precisely why the Kelsey Mitchell situation is so incredibly critical right now. Did you hear that? Core designations could disappear completely. For those unfamiliar, the core designation is what the Fever applied to Kelsey Mitchell last year. It's essentially a franchise tag that locks a player into the team at a supermax salary. If that vanishes, Mitchell becomes an unrestricted free agent with no strings whatsoever. She could leave for New York, Las Vegas, or any other team offering a stronger shot at a championship. And frankly, who could blame her if she left? Mitchell has remained loyal to Indiana through some very lean years. She has earned the right to control her own destiny, but this is what makes it so fascinating. Both Mitchell and Lexi Hull have suggested they wish to return to Indiana. That's huge. Despite the chaos and all the uncertainty, they have faith in what's being constructed around Caitlin Clark. That is the loyalty and belief that championships are made of, but the Fever must seize this moment now. Dominant players now. No more moral victories. No more "we're building something special" platitudes. It is time to win, period. And you know, the blueprint is already out there. See what Las Vegas did. They put veterans like Candace Parker and Chelsea Gray around Asia Wilson. Look at New York. They assembled a super team with Brianna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and Jonquel Jones. Those organizations didn't fool around with potential and development. They committed to winning immediately. The Fever have their centerpiece in Caitlin Clark. They have their foundation with Aaliyah Boston. Now they must apply the finishing touches. And this is where that overseas scouting becomes so vital. Many of the WNBA's best players are international stars who provide a different tier of basketball IQ and experience. Consider players like Brianna Stewart, who played overseas, or Courtney Vandersloot, or Emma Missaman. These athletes understand how to win at the highest level. That is a perfect case study of what can go wrong with international talent. She arrived in New York with massive expectations, but was placed in a role that failed to play to her strengths. The Fever cannot afford to repeat that error when they sign international players, and believe me, they will. Those players must be positioned to succeed. They have to fit the system designed to maximize Caitlin Clark's playmaking. Think about this. Clark is one of the greatest passers in the sport, period. She requires shooters, cutters, and intelligent players who can read the game. International players frequently excel in those exact areas because European basketball places a heavy emphasis on fundamentals and team concepts. This is why the overseas scouting department is so essential. The Fever have to identify players who complement Clark's game, not just big names who could clash with the existing system. So, this just came out from Chloe Peterson at the Indy Star, literally moments before we recorded, and it confirms all our speculation. The Fever are in planning mode, but they're essentially planning in the dark. Consider how insane that is. You are trying to assemble a championship roster, but you have no idea what the salary cap will be. You don't know if core designations are going to exist. You don't know the expansion draft rules, and you don't even know if players can enter the draft with less than 4 years of college. That last detail, by the way, is wild. I was unaware you needed 4 years of college to enter the WNBA draft. If that rule were to change, it could completely reshape the talent pool. Imagine if the WNBA could draft players after 2 or 3 years, like the NBA. All of a sudden, you have younger, more athletic talent joining the league sooner. But for the time being, the Fever must be ready for multiple scenarios. They need a plan A, a plan B, and probably plan C through Z. So, at this moment, I think that, and there you have it, the 3 players under contract, Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Damaris Dantas. That is your core. Everything else must be constructed around them. Lexi Hall is a restricted free agent, meaning the Fever can match any offer she receives. That's great news, as Hall displayed tremendous improvement last season and is a perfect 3-and-D wing alongside Clark. Sophie Cunningham is unrestricted but has expressed a desire to return, and honestly the Fever should make that a priority. Cunningham provides toughness, shooting, and a veteran presence. She is precisely the kind of player you need in your rotation, but the crown jewel of this free agency is Kelsey Mitchell. Ling Dunn plainly stated that Mitchell is the #1 priority, and deservedly so. Mitchell averaged over 19 points per game last season, and is among the most efficient scorers in the entire league. Pairing her with Clark in the backcourt creates one of the most explosive offensive duos in the WNBA. But the question is, yes, it can be fixed. It's on the Fever front office. Don't get worn out by the what-ifs. Easier said than done, I know, but that is the mindset required when you're creating something extraordinary. You cannot let uncertainty paralyze you. You must make choices based on the available information and adapt as the situation evolves. And truly, that is what distinguishes good GMs from great ones. Amber Cox is being tested right now in ways few executives ever are. She's building a championship team in one of the most volatile periods of WNBA history. But here is what makes me confident she's concentrating on the right things. Player development, international scouting, communicating with her current players, and prioritizing the correct free agent. Those are the controllables she spoke of. Now let's discuss what a feasible 2026 roster might look like if things go as planned. Don't I want to win, bro? But get down there in the comment section. Nothing but facts. Caitlin Clark must embrace her power as a superstar, and the Fever must provide the supporting cast to enable that. But let's imagine what this roster could become. A starting 5 of Caitlin Clark at point guard, Kelsey Mitchell at shooting guard, Lexi Hull at small forward, Aaliyah Boston at power forward, and you bring in a veteran center, perhaps someone like Stephanie Dawson or Jonquel Jones if a trade is possible. That's a lineup that can go toe-to-toe with anyone. Off the bench, you've got Sophie Cunningham for instant offense and tenacity, Damaris Dantas to stretch the floor from the 4 spot, and then you add 2 or 3 international players who bring championship pedigree. Maybe someone like Aston Dur or Maria Conde from the Spanish League. Players who know how to win and can make an immediate impact. That is a 9 or 10 deep rotation with legitimate talent. That is a team that can win 25-30 games in the regular season and make a serious playoff run. And on that note, let's finish with some final thoughts. The Indiana Fever are at a crossroads. The choices they make this offseason will shape not only the franchise's fate, but potentially the entire arc of Caitlin Clark's career. We have seen what occurs when generational talents lack support. They leave. LeBron left Cleveland the first time. Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City. Anthony Davis forced his way out of New Orleans. The WNBA is not immune. If the Fever fail to build a championship contender around Clark, she could eventually look elsewhere. But here's the good news. Everything we're hearing implies the front office gets the urgency, the international scouting initiative, the focus on re-signing key players, the stress on experience and a winning culture. These are all correct moves. Now it's about execution. The CBA talks will conclude around Halloween. The expansion draft is in December, and free agency will begin soon after. By this time next year, we'll know if the Fever built a super team or squandered their chance. My prediction, if they can secure Kelsey Mitchell, bring back Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham, and sign 2 high-level international players, players, this team will be a top 3 seed. They will have the talent, depth, and experience to contend for a title. But it all begins with the moves being made right now in that front office. Amber Cox is controlling the controllables, and really that's all any of us can do. Drop a comment below and tell me what moves do you want the Fever to make this offseason. Who should they target in international free agency? And do you think Caitlin Clark will win a championship in Indiana? Let's discuss. And if you're still here, hit that subscribe button because we're covering every single move the Fever make this offseason. This is the most critical stretch in franchise history, and we'll break down every single detail. Until then, stay locked in, and let's hope the Fever front office builds the super team we've all been anticipating.